Okay, today class, the standards that we're going to touch bases on comes from two disciplines, geometry and algebra. The first one is geometry. The standard is GSRT4. Prove theorems about triangles. Theorems including line parallel to one side of the triangle divides the other two proportionally and conversely, and the Pythagorean Theorem proved using triangle similarity. The other standard, which is an algebra standard, is algebra SCED 1. It consists of creating equations and inequalities in one variable and using them to solve problems. This includes equations arising from linear and quadratic functions and simple rational and exponential functions. Okay, I want you all to first find your name. It's going to be used for two purposes on today. It serves as our roster, and it's also going to serve as your equity stick for today. So again, I need you to take a look, find your name, indicate that you're present, and remember your number. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to take a couple of minutes and we're going to do a WODB. Basically, which one doesn't belong. As you can see, we have four numbers, 9, 16, 25, and 43. Now I want you to take a look. I'm going to give you about a minute to look at the numbers, and I want you to tell me which one doesn't belong and why. Okay, so now that minute is over, I would love to hear some of your answers as to what number you chose and why. A couple of examples that I have heard. I have heard people say that 43 doesn't belong simply because it's not a perfect square. 9 perfect square is 3, 16 perfect square is 4, 25 perfect square is 5. And again, 43 does not have a perfect square. I've also heard that the number 9 didn't belong simply because the number 16, when you add the digits 1 plus 6, you get 7. And 25, when you add the digits 2 plus 5, you get 7. And 43, the digits 4 plus 3 equals 7. I'm trying to see what other answer choices I have heard. There was another one that I heard. I think it was for 25. Yes, it was for 25 because they said when you look at the last digit of the other three numbers, they're divisible by 3, which is true. You have 9 that is divisible by 3. The 6 and 16, the 6 is divisible by 3. And then you have the last digit in 43, which is 3, which is also divisible by 3. So that's why I have heard from students that the number 25 doesn't belong. But that was our WODB for today. We're going to go on to the our agenda. Today we're going to have a refresher course on one-step equations. Then we're going to have a recap on one-step equations. Our new lesson for today, I will be introducing the Pythagorean Theorem. We will run through some important terms and vocabulary in regards to the standard. We will apply the theorem, and then we will conduct an exit ticket to make sure that we are on track and we are able to apply the theorem to real life scenarios. Okay, so let's activate some prior knowledge on today. We're going to watch a short video on equations.
Mr. S. Mathematics is fun. One-step equations. Let's do it. Doing the inverse or the opposite. Whatever you do on one side, you gotta copy it. Solving for x or whatever the letter. Listen to me and your skills will get better. First example, x minus 5 equals 1. What is the operation that is being done? Look for a sign if you don't got a clue. All I see is a minus, that's true. What is the opposite of subtraction? It is addition. Now let's do some magic. Since it's minus 5, we will add it. Apply that to both sides, otherwise it's tragic. So x minus 5 plus 5 equals x. Notice the variable is the only thing left. Now to the other side, 1 plus 5. 6 is the answer to x.
Why?
Well, let's check it in the equation. Originally, x minus 5 equals 1. Substitute 6 for x, then it becomes fun. Does 6 minus 5 equal 1? Done. Doing the inverse or the opposite. Whatever you do on one side, you gotta copy it. Solving for x or whatever the letter. Listen to me and your skills will get better. Doing the inverse or the opposite. Whatever you do on one side, you gotta copy it. Solving for x or whatever the letter. Listen to me and your skills will get better. On to the second, it's looking a little different. X divided by 5 equals 4, let's make a decision. What is the operation in this equation? No addition, subtraction, or multiplication. Only one left, that is division. You could tell by the sign. So we gotta figure the opposite of division. Let's use our minds. It's multiplication. Multiplication. Multiply the left side by 5 and replicate it. X divided by 5 times 5 equals x, and 4 times 5 equals 20. So let's see if it's true. Does x equal 20? Substitute it for x and check. 20 divided by 5, that's 4. Since it is true, we're right for sure. Yeah.
Okay, that was our video on equations, activating our prior knowledge. Now we're going to do a quick activity just to make sure that our skills are upbeat and fresh. If it will ever load for us. Okay, we will just go over a couple of equations just to refresh our knowledge, to make sure that we are very knowledgeable on equations, because that's a big part, has a big part, and it coincides with today's lesson. So we have negative 4 equals negative 7 minus x. Just as the video said, we want to make sure we use the inverse action. So we have negative 7 minus x, so if it's a negative 7, the inverse of negative 7 is positive 7, so therefore we would add a plus 7 to both sides. So plus 7, when we add a plus 7, of course it cancels out. What you do to one side, we must do to the other. So we'll have a positive 7 over here, so a negative 4 plus 7 is a negative 3. We have negative 3 equals negative x. Our variable can never hold that negative sign, so therefore we would just have to factor out a negative 1 on each side of the equation. So therefore my negative x now becomes a positive x because I factored out, or basically divided by negative 1. And then negative 4 divided by negative 1 should give us a positive 4. So let's test our answer. Okay, and we will try one more. We have negative 1 equals n plus 1. And that statement is basically saying something plus 1 gives us a negative 1. We use the inverse operation. We have a positive 1 on the right hand side. The inverse operation is a negative because it's addition. The inverse operation is a subtraction. So negative 1 on both sides. So if I negative 1 on the right side cancels out. If I do my negative 1 on the left side, I would a negative plus a negative will give us a negative, so it would be a negative 2. And we can test our answer out by substituting and plugging in for n. A negative 2 plus 1 indeed gives us a negative 1, or we can say if I owe you $2 and I paid you $1, I'm still left owing you $1. So let's test out our answer of negative 1. I'm sorry. I said negative 1, I meant negative 2. Okay, so it looks like our skills are refreshed and we can go on to the next task for today. Okay, what I need you all to do is to join the Nearpod, and I've typed in the code for you to join. And what we're going to do, we're going to watch a short video on Pythagorean theorems, and I want you to insert one fact from the video on the math wall. Again, make sure I have the steps listed. Open Nearpod, click on join a lesson, type in my code, which is P5ATC. Type in your name, click join lesson, and from there, from the video, choose one fact of your choice that will be placed on the wall. Okay, some notes in regards to the Pythagorean theorem. When given two sides, we can calculate the third side. We need to always remember that the hypotenuse always sits across from the 90-degree angle. And then we have two legs that form the L shape. We have the hypotenuse, which is always our longer side. Our formula that we use is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And this will only work when we have a right triangle. Okay, now we're going to do the next step, applying the theorem. The first step is when you have to find the hypotenuse. You're going to first locate your hypotenuse, which is always across from your 90-degree angle. The second step consists of you writing the formula. Your formula is a squared plus b squared plus c squared. Your third step, you want to substitute your letters for numbers that consist of your two legs. Remember, your two legs will always form the L shape. Your fourth step consists of you adding up the squares of the two legs. In this scenario, we have 8 squared plus 6 squared, which equals c squared. 8 squared is 64. 6 squared is 36. 64 plus 36 equals 100. From there, you will take the square root of your final answer. The square root of 100 is 10. Okay, from there, you can proceed and do your additional practice on finding the hypotenuse. The second step is the second portion of applying the theorem is if you know the hypotenuse. You will first locate your hypotenuse. In this case, your hypotenuse is 9. Okay. Then we want to write our formula. This time our formula will be c squared minus b squared equals a squared. From there, you will substitute your letters and numbers, take the square of the hypotenuse minus the square of the one leg you know, and then take the square root of the final answer. and